Did Season 4 of Degrassi Next Class make Grace basic? I mean, Grace never would have freaked out about not being openly in a relationship with Jonah. She wouldn't panic about having sex and be uncertain of Jonah's motivations before now, right? No, not really. Season 4 didn't ruin Grace at all. It expanded on her character. It explored a different part of her that we've not been able to see because she hasn't been in a romantic relationship yet. This is possibly the first or one of a very few list of romantic relationships she's been in. So of course there's going to be some of that awkwardness that we see with a lot of other people. The thing about Grace is that she's been around enough people and other people's relationships to have an idea of when certain things are just frivolous worries and how to react in key situations. But she doesn't know everything about being in a relationship herself. It's a very different perspective when you're in the relationship instead of someone just looking from the outside. Just because you know some things doesn't mean you know everything about that topic. Grace isn't concerned about Jonah wanting to keep their relationship secret because that's just what people on Degrassi do when they're in a relationship. It's an issue because she's not certain why Jonah wants it to still be a secretive relationship. Going into it, she thought they both valued privacy and they didn't want to have the relationship studied by the public. The public being their friends and basically everyone else in school. When it does get out to her friends that Grace is having romantic encounters with someone, and the idea is planted in her head that when a person is in a secretive relationship, they may feel like they are the other one's moped damage, Grace is seeing less and less reason to keep their relationship a secret. I mean, everyone knows that she's seeing someone now, and she doesn't want Jonah to feel like that she's ashamed of him or embarrassed by him. And that's what caused her to go from, no, we have to keep this a secret, to, I want to be open about our relationship. But what she didn't know was Jonah wasn't trying to stay secretive because he didn't want other people knowing about them necessarily. He just didn't want Frankie to know. And now, of course, we knew that Jonah didn't want to get back with Frankie. That was made pretty clear by Season 3 ending. But Grace doesn't. She's probably seen a lot of people who start in another relationship but still aren't over their ex. And those people might have done pretty nasty things like using the person that they're seeing now to somehow try to win their ex back. And then seeing Frankie talk about Jonah as though they possibly will get back together is very concerning. She can't be certain whether or not Frankie is just over-dramatizing or reading too much into Jonah's niceness to her. And on top of that, life's too short. Particularly, she feels her life is too short. Yeah, she's decided to go for the transplant, but it's still in her mind that she can die on the operating table. And so if this is going to be her last chance for a romantic relationship, she wants to go all out for it. She wants to feel like they're a real couple instead of two people who can only meet behind closed doors. It's not that Grace wanted some big open gesture about how Jonah cares for her. Actually, that's kind of the opposite of what she wanted. You could see how totally embarrassed Grace is when Jonah starts singing to her in public. But by episode's end, that's sort of what she needed. She needed something to confirm that Jonah is all in for this relationship. She's not just a rebound. She's not a temporary in-between Jonah getting back together with Frankie. And then when Grace panics about possibly having sex with Jonah and not being certain about his actual feelings for her and wanting to do sexual things later on, why wouldn't she feel that? Of course you'd be antsy about your first time. Or even if it wasn't her first time, it's her first time with Jonah, someone she really cares about. Even if you've had sex before with someone that you loved at the time or possibly still love, that doesn't take away the specialness or the anxiety you might have with having sex then with another person for the first time, especially if it's someone that you really, really care about. And she doesn't want to rush into anything. She doesn't want to have their first time remembered as something like a mistake or being subpar. And as they said, they've been putting off living in a lot of ways, so they've not even talked about this. So there's a lot of questions going into even considering having sex. There's so much they need to talk about. For one, Grace having doubts about how Jonah feels about her, wanting to make sure that they don't hook up and then he takes off, that he's actually interested in her in that way. And then with Jonah, before he can have sex with her, he's got to discuss the fact that he got a girl pregnant and has a kid now. And not only that he has a kid, but the circumstances of that kid coming about were very bad. There's a wall that's finally coming down between them. A wall that's not just there in their relationship, but that they've been keeping up with everyone. And an important part of being in a relationship and wanting to do something like have sex is being able to trust your partner with some of the things that you wouldn't trust other people with, like talking about how you were a total jerk to your baby mama. Although I love everything about their relationship in season 4, I think my favorite part was their conclusion to have sex at prom. Zoe's right, it is pretty basic and not necessarily anything groundbreaking, but it doesn't have to be. The important part of it is you're not uncool or somehow less of a person for wanting your first time with someone to be sentimental. They really want their first time to be special, so when better to do it than after prom? An occasion that's already pretty special on its own. Grace is a badass and a totally awesome character in her own right. But that doesn't mean she's free of the worries and desires that other people have. There's a lot that sets her apart from other people, but that doesn't disclude her from thinking similarly or having similar concerns. These situations are coming up because she hasn't encountered them before, or at least hasn't encountered them before with Jonah. We're watching her learn about relationships firsthand and not just as a third-party viewer. You can be cool, but that doesn't disqualify you from having anxiety about your relationship or sex. This ends the main content portion of my video, but before I go, I want to let people know that I have a Let's Play channel that I do with Tarbuck Transom. I'll have a link in the description and possibly one of those end card things that YouTube's doing now instead of annotations. So far we've played Super Mario Galaxy 1, and right now we're doing a run-through of God of War 1. And if you like interesting discussion, sometimes touching on Degrassi, oftentimes just talking about whatever's on our minds, or if you like seeing someone who can't play video games try to play video games, then I think you might enjoy it. It's called The Arch Plays, and we have a lot of fun creating it, and hopefully it's a lot of fun to watch. As always, thank you so much for consuming my videos, and until next time.